Hey, let's make something. Today, we're finishing the feast table. So, there's only one thing left, and that is 12th cake. So what I'm doing here is using some gray cosclay to be the inside of the cake. You won't be able to see it, so I figured it wouldn't matter to use this. And I'm going to pre-bake this part because I want a very smooth, flat cylinder. Because a 12th cake, in the pictures that I looked up, at least 4 ones in the Victorian era, were very smoothly covered in fondant, and then sugar paste decorations were stuck around the outside. So I'm going for that effect. And sometimes they were pale pink, which was very pretty, but I decided to go with all white. They were often white to show off that you could afford expensive, refined sugar, basically. So I made my cylinder, I baked that up. While that's baking, I'm coloring my sugar paste decorations in white. And these are nail art charms, those metal charms I've used before. I really love them. They're meant to be for manicures, so they're pretty small and light, great for miniatures. These were gold. And sometimes the decorations on a 12th cake were colored with silver or gold leaf, but I just wanted them to be white because the pictures I found, most of them were just all white. I used acrylic paint here, and I had to do a few coats. I wonder if I had used enamel, if it would have covered better. But also, the nice thing about acrylic here is it gives a matte finish, and the enamel would have been very shiny, and the actual sugar paste wouldn't be shiny at all. So there is that. And in pictures I found, a very common motif for these 12th cakes was swans. And I didn't have any swan charms, but I did have flamingos. And I had wire cutters. So I cut the legs off the flamingos, colored them white. I think they do look like swans, so that was lucky. And I'm rolling up some white and translucent clay mixed together. Because fondant is rolled out like clay itself, and then spread over the cake very smoothly, I sort of just went ahead and did that process with clay. Added some liquid Sculpey to the baked clay before I attached the fresh clay, which helps it stick. Yeah, this process with clay is a lot like using real fondant, because if you ever see chefs cover a cake, they do drape the whole sheet over, and then they have to smooth out all the wrinkles around the sides. I have the advantage of being able to roll it against my work surface, though, to make sure it's really smooth. And then once it came out of the oven, I trimmed it and sanded it so it'd be really smooth, and to get rid of any little pieces of lint or anything that stick, because whenever you're working with white clay, you get lint. That's what I find. Here for the top, I decided to decorate it with some scallop shells. I just thought that was a nice design. And my idea here is to put between the scallop shells and around the sides little blobs of frosting that are holding a dragée, one of these little silver balls, which they did have in Victorian England, so that is appropriate. I'm not sure about the scale on these. I think maybe if this was a real size cake, these would be too big, but I just like how they look so much, especially with the white. So I'm using some liquid Sculpey to attach these blobs of frosting. And then using my ball stylus, I'm poking a tiny hole in the top. And then using my wax pencil that picks up small beads and things, I'm attaching one of those little silver balls. So I did 6 blobs on the top to go around the 6 seashells that I'll attach. And then I did 6 around the sides. I thought about adding more, but I didn't want the cake to become too cluttered. Because if you see pictures of them, you do mostly see that smooth white fondant, and then there's a few decorations, but they're not completely covered. So I didn't want to cover the entire surface. Now I'm gluing everything down. These little half circles of beads I thought looked nice. Garlands. And now I'm attaching those swans, those flamingo swans. I had trouble holding onto that cake, so you can see I had it attached to a few different paint bottles and things. And now it's all done, and I'm gluing it onto its cake stand. And it's time to assemble the feast. Here we have rabbit with mushrooms, fried rabbit, as the game course. And oranges, pears, and apples with individual mince pies on this tiered cake stand. Our 12th cake. And roast chestnuts in their little skillet on top of its wooden trivet so it doesn't burn the table. Turkey and stuffing. And gravy, of course, can't forget the gravy. And that extra orange that I couldn't fit on the cake stand rolled off onto the table. Our leg of lamb with mint sauce. And brawn with Cumberland sauce. I'm not sure about those bright colored bits that I put inside the brawn, but the overall effect I really like. I'm going to use that in the future. Oh, plum pudding with hard sauce and holly berry decoration. Punch, the great steaming bowl of punch. Sausages and mustard. Roast goose and potatoes. And our poultry, Cornish hens with carrots and parsnips. I'm sorry my arms are moving in a strange way. I have the camera about neck level, so I'm reaching my arms around it to put things in the room. Yeah, it's a little awkward. Oh, suckling pig. And the barrel of oysters with lemon. And then I thought maybe we needed one more thing. So this video is from earlier. I made humbugs. If you don't know what those are, they're a hard candy, like a boiled sweet, that is usually peppermint or aniseed flavored. And it's black and white striped often. And this is something Ebenezer Scrooge says often in the story when he's mad. Bah humbug. So I thought it'd be appropriate to have some humbugs on the table. And this is, as you can see, just equal size snakes of black and white clay rolled together like stripes. And then I tried to roll it very small. The way these candies are made, the candy, even though it's hard at room temperature, when it's being made it's very hot, and it has this soft taffy-like texture, which is how they're able to work with it and cut it. And I'm using a needle tool rather than a knife to cut it here, because if you see the real candies, they're squished at the edges rather than cut smoothly. So that's what I did. And now we add a bowl of those to the table, and our feast is complete. A feast fit to make Scrooge reassess all his life decisions. Well, I hope you got to enjoy some delicious food this holiday season, and thank you very much for watching.